Hello everyone, it's Kari with sunshineinmypocket.com, back again with you on the channel to create a really awesome shaker card. This time I'm going to be using the Owls stamp set and this Postage die and shaker collection. I'm also going to bring in some of these small elements from a few of the mini die sets that Miss Ink has, and I'll go through those with you as we progress on this card. But for now, I wanted to show you that this largest die is to cut your own shaker for a full flat shaker card. And I love doing this because I use my own acetate, and I find that these shaker cards are a lot flatter when I make them myself like this. So I have a piece of acetate. I'm going to just trim it down so that this will fit through my die cut machine, and then I'll send this through my die cut machine with that die right there, and this is what we get. Now I just dusted it off with a anti-static dryer sheet. That's going to help all the little elements not to stick to the acetate. And now I'm going to fold and reinforce those score lines. Now I find that using a bone folder and then scoring that down with an ergonomic bone folder really helps with this process. The acetate does like to stay flat, but with those score lines, it makes it easy to fold these over. So I'm going to fold all those sides and just make sure that I have those nice and reinforced. Now I'm going to take one of my panels and make sure it fits before I get to work on it. For me, my panel was a little bit larger and it was kind of buckling the acetate, so I'm going to trim down just a little bit, and that'll fit perfectly inside that die cut piece. So I'm just going to test it out one more time, make sure that fits right in there. And it does. So now we can go ahead and work on our back panel for the shaker. My idea was to make the back panel look like a castle wall with those windows and have this little owl in one of the windows. And so I think I'm going to have this be a landscape card. And I'm going to stamp on this window from the Owls stamp set. Just right here, I'm using some Copic friendly ink. This is the Gina K Amalgam ink. And I'm going to stamp that a couple of times to make sure to get a nice dark impression. Once I get the first window stamped, then I'll move this panel down in my MISTI, keeping it lined up on the bottom. And then I'll stamp it one more time to create two windows, and I like it just about there. I just am eyeballing this. I didn't really measure. And this is just an easy way to keep those windows at the same level. So I'll stamp that down a couple of times, and the beautiful thing about this little owl is that you can fit it right in one of those windows without having to mask it off. Normally you would want to mask the owl off first and then stamp that window, but this owl fits perfectly. So I was really happy about that because we're already going to be doing some masking on this card. So I'll stamp that owl right inside that left window, and I cut out some masking magic so that I could mask off both windows. I'll put that right there just like that, and we're going to mask these off so we can create the castle wall look. Once that is done, I'm going to tape this panel to my glassboard, studio glassboard. And I love this board because I can stick down my stencils with some magnets. I also use some pixie spray on this to make sure those little lines stayed in place. But this stencil is really cool. It does look like a castle, I think. So I'm going to use some iced spruce distress oxide. I love this color, and I'm not trying to make it look exactly even. We want some darker spots and some lighter spots. And then I'm going to take some black soot distress ink, smush it on my glass mat, and then add a little water and make some splatters. This is going to give it kind of the granite look of that castle. And it was getting all over my magnets, so I moved those. Now I'm just going to add some more of these just to give it that look. So once it's just the way I like it, I'm adding more and more. You can see I'm going to let that dry, clean up all of my water. And once it's dry, I'm going to darken up the bottom edges of each of the little stones I'm using some Hickory Smoke Distress ink to do this and just adding a little to the bottom of each of them. This again is going to give it a little variation in look, make it look more like stone. And I really love the look when you work at it just a little bit like this. So I think it's worth it. The time, the work. So it's really great. But I am using a smaller brush for this. And once I get that done, you will see, here's a little peek. Look at that. It looks really cool. So now it's time to reveal those windows. It looks like I am going to add a little more black soot around the edges here. So I'm just going to darken that up. I had hickory smoke at first there and now some black soot. There we go. So now let's do the reveal. This is one of my favorite parts. Look at that. So awesome. Now we can color in the background of these windows. I'm going to use some dark blues for this, putting the darkest blue around the edges. This is B97. Then I'll go in with B95 to blend that out. And I'll come in with the lightest B93 just for the center. And I think it gives it a really neat look with a little bit of dimension there. So I'll go ahead and take those same colors to the window on the left, just avoiding that owl because I want to color the owl up like a snowy owl. So for the window edges, you can see I colored the one on the left already. I'm using some cool grays and then adding some dots just to make it look a little more like the granite we did around the castle walls. But this will stand out just a little bit because it's got the variation in color. So once I finish that, I'm going to use some warm grays to color up that owl, make him look like a snowy owl, and I think these colors really make him pop right from the background there. So that's looking really good. Look at that. So that's our background, and now it's time to cut out all of our little mini sets here. I'm going to be using the Lots of Letters stamp set, and I love this one, the die set, because look at this little tiny die here. These are mini wax seals, so you can cut those out in any color. Then I'm going to also use the mini shields here, the mini crests, and one of the mini shields that has the H in it. So here's where I cut out these little crests and shields, and I added some of those little animals to the center of them. But today I'm just going to use the smallest one. It's a couple different dies, and you just piece them together. And I'm just going to use some blues and grays, keeping with our color theme. And then this one right here is the one with the H that I was talking about earlier. Now I'm going to add all of those little wax seals into the center. The envelopes give you a nice embossed look where the lines would be. These are so cute. You can also cut little mini hearts for these. So I cut some hearts as well. And now that they're all put together, we can start using these for shaker pieces on our card. So I'll set those aside. I've already colored up another one of these owls, the one that looks like it's falling from the sky. And I'm going to die cut him with the coordinating dies. And now we'll put this all into our acetate. So that's the background we colored. There's the acetate, and we need to add some double-sided adhesive to all of those tabs, but we're not going to close them all up right yet. So I'm just going to press those on all of them, and then I'm going to remove the backer on just 3 of the sides. We're going to leave one side open, and that will give us an area to add all of our shaker pieces. So you can leave the top open if you want. I just left one of the sides open. Again, I'm reinforcing those with my bone folder. And now I'm going to add some of these letters, some of the shields. And look how cute these are going to be shaking around inside of that acetate piece. I love a full shaker. I think they're really great. So there's the shields. And now I'm going to add some other shaker pieces. I've got some sequins here in some bright colors, some purples and blues. That's going to add some more color to our card. And these shaker pieces I've had in my stash for a while. I don't think they're available any longer. So I'll add those and shake it up. I also added some clear sequins. And now we can close up that whole panel. So to finish this off, I did stamp a sentiment with one of the little envelopes that comes in the stamp set. And this one is, sorry, this is late. The owl got lost. I thought that sentiment was so funny, so I had to use it. I added some double-sided adhesive in order to add this whole panel to our card base. And now I'll add some double-sided adhesive and some liquid adhesive to that sentiment and add it just right here. For that owl that looks like he's falling out of the sky, I'm adding some foam adhesive to that, and I'll pop him up right there. And there's a little look, but I'm also going to glue one of these little envelopes to the top left-hand side of the acetate on the outside, so that I'll always look like it's raised up like that. And there we go, there's our shaker, just shaking everything around here just to give you the full effect. I think this card turned out so fun. I hope you enjoyed it too. Don't forget to give it a thumbs up if you did, and subscribe to the channel. We'll have a lot more inspiration and fun cards coming your way real soon. So I hope to see you then. Thanks for stopping by. Bye-bye.